What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I am Sam. Today, I'm just going to be doing kind of an update, my thoughts and opinions on the offensive coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator searches for the Seahawks, the updates that we've seen, the few updates that we've seen, I would call it. I really just want to get my thoughts out before a hire gets made, which could be, who knows, it could be tomorrow, it could be the next day. I do not know when this hire is going to be made. However, I'm going to lay my thoughts on the candidates that have already been out there and see just where things go. Now, in my last video, my Mike McDonald hiring reaction video, I kind of gave my thoughts and opinions on Ryan Grubb, my thoughts and opinions on Tanner Engstrand. And if you want me to be honest, I don't think that I don't think that much has changed, at least as much as I would have liked to change by this point in the race. I think that I think that the overall problem for me is I think that this search is moving too slow. I would like the Seahawks to have had an offensive coordinator by now to be able to build out the rest of the staff. And maybe there's kind of that similar feeling where we're the last team to hire our coaches. Maybe we feel like there's like less of a rush to hire offensive coaches. I don't see it that way. I think that good offensive coaches are tough to come across. Good experienced play callers are tough to come across. I would like to see um more interviews being had. That's just me, or at least more interviews that we know of. I'm sure there have been more than the three that we know, but at the same time, I would like to have a little bit more security there and know that we're in good hands here. If you want me to be honest, not much has changed. Ryan Grubb and Tanner Engstrand, as far as we know, are still in the race. Ryan Grubb might not be in the race as much given the fact that he recently came out to a donor meeting the other day with Alabama and all their donors and said, I'm your offensive coordinator. Is a lot of people are painting that to say he's definitely not going to be a candidate. I don't think that's true. I think that is a fact. Yes, at that moment, Ryan Grubb was their offensive coordinator. I don't think he will necessarily lock that up. But I think at the same time, it probably takes a lot out of that for him to be that confident and say those types of things in that type of conference. And I think it brings the probability down a lot for me for Ryan Grubb potentially being the offensive coordinator. If the job was out there and the job was offered to him already, he probably would have said yes, and he probably wouldn't have said that in the conference. That's just my opinion, not a fact. The big name that was added to this mix, at least as far as we know, was UCLA head coach, former Philadelphia Eagles head coach, former Oregon Ducks head coach, former San Francisco 49ers head coach, Chip Kelly was added to this mix. A lot of people are anti Chip Kelly, and I do not know why. Um, I don't know why. I really don't know why. I don't see why everybody is so anti Chip Kelly. If you would like a you want a coach who has that experience, I don't see why you wouldn't want Chip Kelly to be that guy. Chip Kelly has been the head coach of multiple teams. He coached a Heisman Trophy winner at Oregon. He coaches a pretty good offense at UCLA and commands a lot of respect out of his players from Zach Charbonnet and Jake Bobo, who are both Seahawks. Um, you know, Personally, if you want me to be honest, I think Chip Kelly is a really good candidate. I think a lot of people are taking him for granted. You cannot find top level college coaches like literally Chip Kelly when he was coaching at Oregon practically changed the sport with how he ran his spread offense. Um, and then coached an Eagles team that people forget. Chip Kelly's Eagles teams were pretty good. Were pretty good teams, and I feel like he gets a lot of disrespect as far as it goes for his NFL coaching career because he once again in college he kind of revolutionized the sport and people expected him to do that in the NFL. And while he didn't, that does not mean he was a bad coach by any means. Chip Kelly was the coach of a lot of good Eagles teams. And frankly, I think of the three candidates that we know between him, Engstrand, and Ryan Grubb, I would like Chip Kelly the most. I'd be the most comfortable with Chip Kelly. You want a guy who's called plays before. he's called plays and he's called plays for many years and has done it at a very high level and has the results to which I could say that I think Chip Kelly would be a really solid hire for this offensive coordinator job. Now, that the kind of question goes to he's probably going to want a lot of money to be the offensive coordinator. But that's fine. I'm not, I don't think that's a problem. Let's take a look at Chip Kelly's results here. I want to see. Let me see if I can see a season by season basis here. Trying to find one, trying to find one, trying to find one. Um, Not much I can see here. Let me go to Pro Football Reference. But my point still stands is that I think a lot of Seahawks fans, especially, have this idea that Chip Kelly is a bad coach because of how horrible he was with the Niners. And yes, that is something. But also at the same time, those Niners teams were atrocious. And like they were terrible. Yeah. So look, um, Chip Kelly comes in 2013. They go 10-6. They win the division. 2014, they go 10-6 and miss the playoffs, which is, unfortunate. When you go 10-6 and you miss the playoffs, that sucks. And at the same time, I believe that their starting quarterback that year was Mark Sanchez, who took the most snaps. Mark Sanchez. So like think about that. And then 2015, they go 7-9. Kelly's fired midseason, kind of a quick pull, if you will. And then he goes to San Francisco and has a horrible year and is fired after a season. Regardless, the point stands. Chip Kelly had 2 10-6 seasons in the NFL. That is not easy to do. He is a good head coach. And I feel like a lot of people take that away. And I think a lot of people take away the fact that he knows how to call plays and he's called plays for teams with a lot of success, players with a lot of success. And I think that we're just not giving Chip Kelly the credit he deserves. And I think that Chip Kelly, at the end of the day, is my favorite. Is not necessarily the favorite to win the job. He would be my favorite if he was hired because I think Chip Kelly pairing an experienced, long-time tenured play caller with a rookie defensive head coach to me would be perfect. And I think that, if you're just talking purely X's and O's by the playbook, what plays would he call? What plays would he run? What plays would he scheme up? I think that Chip Kelly is a fantastic hire for this team and a fantastic potential hire for this team. And I'm really interested to see where it could potentially go with this and how it evolves because I think that Chip Kelly would be an absolutely dynamite get for the Seahawks if they can get him for offensive coordinator. Um, Kind of moving on to defensive coordinator, not much has changed there. The Seahawks added a interview. Let me see if I can find the name again because it's blanking on me. It's late at night here in Connecticut right now. It's 10:44. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Seahawks defensive interviews. Alan Durd. He's the Cowboys assistant. He's a Cowboys assistant coach, the defensive line coach for the Cowboys. Alan Durd interviewed for the Seahawks defensive coordinator job. Frankly, it's been him and Joe Cullen. If you want me to be honest, I think the Seahawks are waiting for Joe Cullen after the Super Bowl for the Chiefs D line coach. I think he's the favorite to be the hire. He worked with Mike McDonald in Baltimore. I think it makes a lot of sense there. I'm not really going to dive too much into defensive coordinators. You add Alan Durd, who's a Dan Quinn disciple. I guess maybe that's something that John Schneider sees, something that John Schneider likes. I would have to assume. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't like a guy who he highly respects in Dan Quinn. I don't know why he would want one of his assistants. Maybe he wants a Pete style vibe, Pete style scheme. But at the same time, I want Mike McDonald running this, and I think that Mike McDonald hiring Joe Cullen would be a very good hire. And frankly, I think that's my favorite. If I had to put just an idea of like, once again, if I had to put my favorite, I think Chip Kelly would be my absolute favorite hire. I think that Chip Kelly gets a lot of disrespect. Um, I would like someone who's called plays, if we're being honest, with a rookie defensive head coach. I would like someone who's called plays on offense. Um, at the end of the day, I think that Tanner Engstrand is a huge risk given the fact that he hasn't called plays. And maybe you can put the trust in him to say he's going to run the same Ben Johnson scheme, but I would like someone to call plays who has the experience and someone who I think would ultimately uh fit the role more given you want someone who can run the offense without any input from Mike McDonald. You want someone who can run the offense uh, on their own and just have them know what plays to run. Frankly, I think that's a huge factor, and I would like to see Chip Kelly be the guy. Out of all the names we've heard, maybe there's a better name out there that hasn't been said or hasn't been spoken about, but in my opinion, Chip Kelly is the experienced guy you need. He is the X's and O's guy you need. There are players on this team with familiarity to that system. Um, and I think that if you spread out this offense more and you give these wide receivers more options and you give Gino the ability to sling the ball around more with more open targets, I think that that is only going to be a positive. And sure, you can look at Chip Kelly's results at UCLA under a microscope and maybe, you know, uh, maybe, you can say, oh, well, like he's not as good as he was in in Oregon. Maybe you can argue that for sure. I'm not necessarily saying that he's been a great coach, but you look at the results, the team has gotten better every year. Now, first you want to talk about Oregon, you're going 10-3, 12-1, 12-2, winning a national championship, 12-1. You know, we're talking about great, really dominant teams. And then in 2018, he goes to UCLA. They're 3-9. That UCLA was a bad team. 3-9. Then you go 4-8. Then you go 3-4, and you start to see like, oh, maybe he doesn't have it. But then 8-4, last 3 years, 8-4, 9-4, 8-5. Those are good results, and it shows that he has the turnaround and the ability to coach a good team. Um, Frankly, I think in UCLA this last year, um, was a fairly good offense. Once they got their right quarterback in, Ethan Garbers, they really started to move. They're a running team, and I think that that makes a lot of sense. If you go back to last year, 2022 UCLA, you take a look at what Zach Charbonnet was able to do: 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, and then you also have Dorian Thompson Robinson throwing 27 touchdowns, 10 picks. I think that, like, in general, people look at Chip Kelly as if he's this joke. He's a college coach only. The results are there in the NFL, and it's undeniable. And people that are saying that are, frankly, I think, just Washington truthers, who see Ryan Grubb and they like Ryan Grubb as an OC because he's a Washington guy. And they're like, oh, we need Ryan Grubb. And then they see Chip Kelly, who's a UCLA guy, and they're like, oh, no, Chip Kelly sucks. He's terrible. We can't have this. We need to be unbiased here when looking at these guys. And the fact of the matter is, Chip Kelly is the best coaching candidate out there as far as it goes for experience. That is a fact. If you look at the 2013 Eagles team, you have Nick Foles throwing 27 touchdowns and 2 picks in 10 games started. That is a ridiculous number. He's having Jeremy Maclin and Deshaun Jackson look like stars out there. He's having Riley Cooper look like a stud. That needs to be taken into consideration, considering that, if he's making Riley Cooper look great, imagine what he can do with Jackson Smith and Jigba out there. And, that's a welcome sign. Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez had some really good years under Kelly, which is like kind of funny. Um, and once again, you have Jeremy Maclin and Jordan Matthews. These guys are balling out, and quarterbacks are having their greatest years under him. Marcus Mariota essentially rode the back of Chip Kelly and that system to the second overall pick, and now he's a backup in Philadelphia. Overall, I think people are taking Chip Kelly for granted. Personally, he's my favorite. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know who you think is the best candidate for this job. Who do you want to see? Do you want to see Ryan Grubb? Do you want to see Angstrand? Do you want to see Chip Kelly? Do you want to see someone else? Please give me your take in the comments below, and let me know. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell whenever I post new videos. Smash that like. And like I said, leave your comments below. I want to start a discussion. I like them, I read them, and if I think that they're worth reacting to, I will react them. So thank you very much. Have a great night. I'll see you later. Peace out.